the Sentinel Brief, Ukraine, NATO, and the war that didn't have to happen. Before we begin, a note on balance. This analysis is not about choosing sides, assigning virtue, or excusing wrongdoing. It is about understanding the strategic decisions, fear, and miscalculations that shape this conflict on all sides. Explanation is not endorsement, but without explanation, history repeats itself. If you value clear, balanced analysis, consider supporting the channel so this kind of content reaches more people. If we're going to talk about Ukraine honestly, we must abandon comforting myths. This war did not begin in 2022. It did not begin with madness. And it did not begin without warning. It began with strategy and with provocation. Let's break it down. But to understand Ukraine, we must first understand Georgia, 2008, the warning shot. The Russo-Georgian War of 2008 was not an isolated clash between small states. It was a multifaceted international conflict, a preview of the tensions that would later erupt in Ukraine. Although Georgia entered the American public consciousness in 2008, the United States was no stranger to Georgia long before the first shots were fired. American politicians, business interests, and strategic planners had been deeply engaged with Georgia for years, fully aware of its geographic importance, energy corridors, and role in post-Soviet power politics. When war broke out between Georgia and Russia, President George W. Bush publicly condemned what he called unprovoked Russian violence and pledged strong political support for Georgia. But that public framing told only part of the story. Behind the rhetoric were uncomfortable realities: Georgia's volatile political history, its escalating confrontation with Russia, NATO's continued eastward expansion, and a growing body of evidence suggesting Georgian military aggression in 2008 played a decisive role in triggering the conflict. The conflict was quickly painted in simple moral terms: aggressor versus victim. But the movement's behavior and open involvement of American officials, businessmen, and foreign interest groups cannot be ignored. Georgia was not merely defended, it was positioned. The Russo-Georgian War revealed a pattern: local conflicts becoming pressure points in a broader struggle between major powers. Small nations encourage forward without guarantees in pursuit of larger strategic interests. That lesson was not learned. It soon was to be repeated. What this war is not. First, we must be clear about what this war is not. This is not a Russian attempt to conquer Europe. It is not a revival of the Soviet Union, and is not an irrational land grab. Russia today is not the USSR of yesterday. Its economy is smaller than many NATO states combined. Its military posture is regional, not global. The United States is different. It is a global power with a global footprint. As the saying goes, the United States Army is so far-reaching that no matter where you stand on the globe, the sun is rising on an American soldier. The Army is everywhere. The contrast cannot be greater. And this contrast matters because what happened in Ukraine was a military intervention driven by perceived strategic threats, not unlike actions the West itself has taken when it believed its own red lines were crossed. 2014 and the road to war. In 2014, Ukraine became the front line of a geopolitical struggle. Following regime change in Kiev, civil conflict erupted in eastern Ukraine. Russian-speaking populations in Donetsk and Luhansk were caught in the middle, and allegations of ethnic cleansing began to surface. From Moscow's perspective, this was not theoretical. It was happening on Russia's doorstep, and to people Russia considered its own, well before the USSR. The claim that Russia acted out of concern for ethnic Russians is disputed in the West, but it is not invented. It has been part of Russia's stated security doctrine for decades. Again, explanation is not endorsement, but ignoring causation guarantees repetition. NATO expansion and broken assurances. After the Cold War, the Warsaw Pact dissolved. NATO did not. Instead, it expanded eastward, closer to Russia's borders, despite repeated objections from Moscow. Western leaders insist no formal treaty prohibited this. Russia insists political assurances were broken. Both can be true, but one fact is indisputable: Ukraine was different. Ukraine was not just another country. It was a red line. Missiles change everything. NATO membership is not symbolic. It means infrastructure. It means missile systems. It means forward deployment. From Russia's perspective, NATO missiles in Ukraine would reduce warning times to minutes. No nuclear power tolerates that. Not Russia, not China, and certainly not the United States. The Cuban Missile Mirror. We have seen this before. In 1962, the Soviet Union placed nuclear missiles in Cuba. The United States did not debate ethics. It did not debate sovereignty. It prepared for war. Why? Because missiles near borders changed deterrence calculations. That crisis was itself preceded by U.S. nuclear missiles placed in Turkey, on the Soviet border, a move that helped shape Moscow's response. History does not repeat itself exactly, but it rhymes. The reverse scenario. Now imagine this. China creates a new alliance, the East Pacific Treaty Organization. Mexico and Canada join. Missile batteries are placed along the U.S. border. Americans are told those systems are purely defensive. What would Washington do? The answer is obvious. Every great power reacts the same way when encircled. Ukraine as the proxy. Ukraine was promised protection, but it was never given NATO's Article 5 guarantee. It was encouraged forward without a shield. That gap between promise and protection created a proxy war. No NATO troops, no Western casualties. Maximum geopolitical pressure. The cost, paid in Ukrainian lives, just as it was paid in Vietnam, in Central America, in the Middle East. The people always suffer most. Yet history also shows that nations sometimes resort to force not out of malice, but out of necessity, seeking an outcome that is better for the people, because leaders judge that the alternative would be worse. Hard choices are not always unjustified, but they must always be honest. This is not about democracy. This war is framed as democracy versus tyranny. But history tells a different story. The United States is not driven by democracy. It is driven by interests. We are not a democracy. We are a constitutional republic. However, foreign policy has often sacrificed nations on the altar of ideology and profit. Follow the money. Follow the arms. Follow the influence. The bigger threat. Russia is no longer the Soviet Union. China is the rising power. Yet the world is distracted, locked in old narratives, while sovereignty erodes under supranational institutions. NATO, the EU, the UN. Power consolidates upward. Accountability disappears. This war accelerates that process. The uncomfortable truth. This war was not inevitable. It was provoked by NATO, the Biden-Harris administration, and the collective West. It was predicted, and it was preventable. Ukraine was not protected, it was positioned. Peace will not come from slogans, sanctions, or selective history. It will come when nations accept a hard truth. Security cannot be built by ignoring another power's red lines. History already taught us that lesson. We simply refuse to listen. What do you think? Comment below and don't forget to like and subscribe for more honest, fair, and balanced military and political breakdowns. Thanks for watching.